throw away time. What is your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? 2.5 years ago I was in dire financial straits. So I sold my home to keep my struggling business afloat. I neglected to tell the owners that they have an 800 square foot bunker on the property that I built about 7 years ago. The bunker that I have called home since I sold it. The entrance to it is well hidden, but I still come and go very early, very late in the day. I am a single man who keeps to himself. I am now in a situation where I could move somewhere else, but I love this hidden paradise so much. Background: I am a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care aged 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a poop early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like I did rather not go into it so that people will just assume I was abused in some way and they will stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my psycho birth mother who really wanted a daughter and did not let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country. Gave birth to me at home and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but was always supervised. I found out way after that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie she used to explain why she was so strict about me being private and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy, and played with Lego and toy animals, rather than dolls and stuff. But that is not unusual and no one ever questioned I was a girl, even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my dick would kinda fall off or something and I would be a woman. And other kids would keep their dicks and they did be men. I dunno. To be honest, I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy girlhood, and had a bunch of friends and everything was great until I was 7 and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, why no, delusional and stuff. I was not allowed to go back home but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved school so lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I was not a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home was not that great. They had 3 boys already and going from a sheltered religious-only child upbringing to a rough and tumble testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to commit suicide when I was 11 and again at 13 because I did not feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short, and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I did been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do, or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever. But I'm fine with that. I went through school and got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing, supportive wife. Everything looks great. But I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. TLRD, I am a guy and let people believe I was raised in care because I was abused when in fact I had a great childhood, except that my mother tried to raise me as a girl. I speak 2 languages, so every time I received a new essay I would browse the topic in my own language and translate the text word by word to English, then submitted it. No one ever caught me for plagiarism before. Half of Europe does this. I cut off all contact with everyone I know and moved to Kenya. I tell people a fake name and a fake background and have made it appear to my family that I died on boat trip in the Pacific. No, I am not joking. I am dead in the United States. Okay. So this is a secret I have kept for nearly 20 years. During the summers when I was growing up, my parents would often leave my brother and I and mail with our aunt and uncle who lived out in the country. It was great as they had 4 sons of ages close to ours, so we had a lot of fun doing kid stuff. One summer when I was 8, the oldest cousin was maybe 16. We somehow got talking and he asked me if I wanted to sleep in his room that night. He has the nicest room and bed, so I was all for it. Got into bed and he asked if he could touch my penis. I was 8 and just thought it was okay, so I let him. He rubs it for a bit and then asks me to do the same to him. So I do. This progresses and eventually I am sucking his cock. I think I knew this was wrong, so I said I did not want to carry on. We stop and I go to sleep quite confused. I wake up and he hands me some money and tells me never to tell anyone about what happened. Next night he tries to do the same thing. But now all I care about is the money. So I do it. This carried on for 2 summers. Eventually I got old enough to realize it was quite wrong regardless of the money and stopped. I have not told anyone this. He is now married with 2 kids. I am also married and we see them sometimes at family events. I do not have the balls to even try and talk to him about it. Heck, I am not even sure what I did say. I am sure this will get buried, but just getting it off my chest makes me feel better. TLDR, I was a gay child hooker. God, a TLDR just wrapped it up so beautifully. I once helped out my female friend's family by taking care of their cat for a week. Every day for a week. I would go over there and snoop around their house. I found my friend's diary and proceeded to read the entire thing. I used this information to get her to like me, and she is currently my wife. This is literally the juiciest secret in this thread for some reason. Not totally bland, but not overly obscene. Probably because this is something I could actually picture any person doing if given the chance. I agree. It is not particularly evil, but it is a misdeed that completely altered that guy's life. Honestly, it sounds like a pitch for a mediocre romantic comedy. When I was 13, during the summer before I started high school, I was molested by a guy who dragged me into an alley, backed me into a corner so I could not escape, and even if I did tried to, I could not have because he was taller and stronger than I was, and pulled my pants down. I tried to draw attention to where I was because I did gone over to a guy's house with my friend because she liked him. And when we went, he just happened to have a friend there to hang out with me while they went off and did whatever. Anyway, I tried to shout and make as much noise as I could, and the guy goes, "This would be easier if you were laying down," and tried to force me to the ground. Then my friend finally shows up and goes, "Oh my god, my name, what are you doing?" And the guy obviously does not go, "Oh yeah, now I was trying to rape her, this was my idea." But instead goes, "She was trying to have sex with me, ha 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 ha," and just walks away. Then my friend does not believe me when I tell her he dragged me into the alley because she had disappeared well before anyone could see him pulling on my arm with both hands and me trying to resist it as much as I could. I never told anyone because I did not want them to react the same way my friend did. I think about it a lot, and every day I say maybe this will be the day I finally tell my parents what happened, and then I never do. That was almost 6 years ago. My friend and I no longer speak. But I did stop being friends with her maybe 5 or 6 months after that because she told a couple of our other friends that I tried to have sex with a guy I did known for all of 5 minutes during the summer. Duck. That is infuriating. I know what it is like not to be believed about the way something actually happened. But losing all your friends over it too. I do not want to be with my girlfriend anymore. But she might have cancer and I feel like I need to stay in the relationship. Wow man, that is rough. It definitely is. Unfortunately, my girlfriend through high school's mom passed away from brain cancer when we were 18. So I have some coping strategies and experience with this already. To clarify, the girlfriend from high school is different from the girl I am dating now. I faked the last 2 years of college education. My parents put so much pressure on me I could not handle it. I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety, so I faked it all. Lied to everyone. Made up fake transcripts. I just got my foot in the door in my desired field thanks to a friend as they hired me as a subordinate. This place only hires college grads, but no one double-checked my credentials since I was recommended. My hopes is that if I need to find another job I will have been at this place long enough to get it by experience alone. I work for a very prestigious company. I am not bad at my job. I am actually quite good. But my fear is eventually I will hit the wall and the lie will come to light. No one has known this for the better part of a decade. It is a relief to finally say it out loud. I cannot even tell those I love. My silence is my prison. When I was 17 I had an argument with my father and told him to duck off. Later that evening he hung himself. Our argument was the last time he spoke to anyone in our family, and for that I feel a terrible amount of guilt for. Instead of him saying goodbye and I love you to my mom and brothers, he got told to duck off before he went and killed himself. My punishment is to live the rest of my days in shame and guilt. He never left a note either. I used to be a police fire 911 dispatcher, but had to quit because it nearly made me suicidal. I actually had thoughts, but had to drive 40 miles to go to a center hospital where no one knew me for help. I have nightmares about a few calls I took where the caller killed themselves, shot someone else, or passed away on the phone with me. To this day, a few years after resigning, I still cannot listen to a phone ring or sirens go off without having a mild panic attack. I am fairly sure it is a form of PTSD, with flashbacks, nightmares, panic attacks, and an inability to function sometimes. But I'm embarrassed and scared to tell my fiancé, or go to a doctor for it. I know there are soldiers out there with real PTSD that deserve help far more than me. I am very good at hiding it though. I also sometimes wait until my fiancé goes to sleep, and I will then go sit and pretty much cry for several hours. It is heck too long. Didn't he read I exhibit a lot of the symptoms of PTSD, but I'm scared to get help for it because I do not think I deserve to be diagnosed with something like this, as in my mind, I was never in any real danger. Everyone thinks I have a good job and roommates, but I have been homeless and a prostitute for over a year. There have been a lot of rumors about prostitutes who ultimately work their way out of the business. I hope things get better for you too. IT guy here. It is amazing what people will do on their computers and say in their emails despite having to sign a waiver that all computer activity at work is monitored and recorded. I have half the company's banking, social media and personal email account info and passwords. I know who is secretly banging who at the office behind their spouse's backs. I know who is cybering at work and jerking it in the bathroom almost daily. At least they tell their sex chat partner they're running off to the bathroom to jerk it. Have not felt the need to check the validity of that one. I know when people are having marital problems, financial problems. I even know one person here had their children taken away because a social worker found cocaine in their house. I know who is embezzling money. I know when people get fired for completely bullshit reasons like they just want to replace them with someone younger and nicer on the eyes. And I know who my boss is buying Xanax and Vicodins from. Basically, I have a treasure trove of my co-worker's secrets. I would not actively do anything with this info, but it is nice knowing I have the ammunition there if something were to ever happen. I cannot bring myself to type it out again, so copy-pasted the relevant part from the other place I posted this. I cannot promise coherence. Even after all these years it still cuts deep, and I am probably going to wind up rambling like I did the first and only other time I talked about it, 10 years ago. When I was 7, my parents worked shift work in the military. Since their schedules did not match up very well, it was not uncommon for them both to be working a 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift as such. I had a babysitter, She was an old friend of my mother's. Wonderful woman. She was the type who seemed to have the compulsion to feed everyone who came through her door. Matronly is the word I'm aiming for, I think. Anyway, she and her husband, along with their adopted daughter, were Christian. I tagged along to church with them a couple times, but it only furthered my atheistic leanings, which had already been in place. In time I politely turned down the offer to accompany them, instead staying home with their adopted son. At the time he was about as old as I am now. We shared similar interests, namely, playing Super Nintendo games and listening to loud music. Since the house was free of anyone to complain about it, we did so with abandon. I honestly do not remember how it started anymore. To the best of my recollection, he asked me to go with him into the bathroom to show me something. I was 7. Naive. And he was a cool guy I looked up to. Naturally, I followed without question. The first time, he showed me what masturbating was. At the time, of course, it was just how to get your thing hard, but whatever. A few times after that, we'd do that when the others left, then go back to our gaming. Something always clawed at me. The feeling that something was wrong. He was older than me, though, and he was cool. It must be what the cool kids did. Right. Slowly but surely, though, he escalated things. At first it was mutual masturbation. I still did not really know what was going on, but I jerked him and he jerked me. It could not stop there, of course, and eventually built to him blowing me. After that happened a few times, he wanted me to return the favor. Again, I still did not really grasp what was going on, but I tried. I hated the taste, and wound up refusing. After that happened a couple times, he would force me. I just started to go blank, I guess. I would not do anything. I would not think or feel. I just let him use my mouth until he was satisfied and would jerk into tissue to finish himself off. This went on for a while until my babysitter began to grow suspicious. He had made me promise not to tell anyone about our special time, and at that age a promise was something you did not break for anything. That said, I just denied anything being wrong in a time my babysitter asked. Eventually she grew too concerned and, despite knowing nothing for certain, had my mum find an alternative sitter. Since then, he's gone through therapy. He admitted to having issues, apparently, but never spoke a word of what actually happened. I am pretty sure it ducked me up good. Honestly, I never really properly appreciated the deep scars sexual abuse leaves on a victim until I looked back on my life with it in mind. I buried it for years and tried to pretend I was normal. But I was definitely different. I was a lot more melancholy, and have had a few streaks of depression. I have never really been too certain of my sexuality. I am scared to death of sex, honestly. And I think it is because part of me is afraid that I will wind up just as abusive as he was. It helped a lot, opening up to my girlfriend. It does not haunt me like it used to, and I do not always feel like such a freak. It has helped strengthen our trust, and she has agreed to take things as slowly as I need it to be comfortable. I have since stopped feeling so totally emasculated as well, and it is almost something of a joke to me now. I know, rape is not funny. The thing is though, you have got to be able to joke about it, even if only to yourself. If you can laugh at something, you can move past it. I cannot help but chuckle when I am arguing with someone and they tell me to suck a dick or something to that effect. I can laugh at my own pain, so I can move past it. I do not think I will ever be who I might have been if it had not happened, but I'm okay with that. Realistically, I cannot even say I did change it if I could. I am fit, intelligent, in love and generally happy with my life. It was terrible, yes, and traumatic, but at least I know this path can lead to happiness. Take the evil you know. Right. Anyway, that is my story. It is long, incoherent, and does not really have a proper end, but take it how you will. Too long didn't he read Play Nintendo? Suck dick. Everything turned out okay.